6-year-old Isabella Lombardo is a real chatterbox, smart and beautiful. She lights up any room. But she's lived her short life debilitated by cerebral palsy. It's a tough disorder. And when it was diagnosed, her mum and dad vowed to do anything and everything they could to help their precious daughter. For 4 years, Libby and Joseph Lombardo searched the world and spent all their savings, but eventually found a radical new stem cell treatment in Mexico. The prize it offered was the hope Isabella might walk for the first time. But then they faced the most difficult decision of all. Should they put their faith and their daughter's life in the hands of unknown doctors and untested science?
How long have you had these?
For a long time.
For a long time. They're a beautiful colour, aren't they?
Yes. Pink.
For as long as she can remember, 2 pink sticks with silly names.
That one's Muku and this one's Pebbles.
Moo-poo?
Muku.
Oh, Muku.
Have given Isabella Lombardo much needed support.
That one's Muku over there and that one's Pebbles you're holding.
This one's Pebbles.
But all this determined little girl has ever really wanted is to stand and walk on her own 2 feet.
Would you like to chuck them away for good? I bet you would.
Yeah.
And for that to happen, her parents have made a difficult and dangerous decision.
Oh, great. I'll look after them.
Take good care. Oh, my little butterfly, aren't you?
Driven by love, hope,
Hey.
and desperation, Mum Libby has taken Isabella into the unknown.
No. No.
Okay. Come on.
No.
All right. Come on, baby girl. Mama's right here. I'm right here, baby.
We're in Monterrey, Mexico. And this 6-year-old is about to undergo a procedure which doctors in Australia refuse to do.
It's okay. Mama's right here. Mama's here.
Naturally, it's tense.
Mama loves you.
But Mum and daughter are here for what they've been told is groundbreaking stem cell treatment.
It just, everything turns out different to what you think it's going to be like, you know,
Yeah, it's never exactly as you planned it.
as you picture.
It's a medical procedure which is said to offer Isabella the chance to one day walk on her own.
Oh, it's hard to watch, hey?
For Libby and her husband Joseph, the prize is worth the substantial risk.
When she gets upset about not being able to walk or being able to participate in something, she says, that makes me sad. And I say, it makes me sad too. And, you know, we're trying together. And we're in it together.
You know, when you talk with Mum about having a dream, what's your dream? Can you tell me?
I'm gonna crawl with and walk with the sticks.
Smart, cheeky, and full of life, this little live wire is trying to be just like any other 6-year-old.
And then walk with the sticks and then I'm gonna walk by myself.
That'd be fantastic, wouldn't it?
Yeah, like this.
But Isabella's development is very different.
You're a beautiful girl.
12 weeks after her birth, Libby and Joseph were told there was something not quite right with their baby daughter.
I'm walking around on cloud 9 and, you know, enjoying those moments until you just, you know, this nurse tells you that, you know, she's not meeting her milestones.
And the physiotherapist said to us, she's got cerebral palsy, which no one in the medical profession had said to us.
I didn't even know what cerebral palsy was. It was like, how can this lady come into my house, throw away such a remark like that? And I'm like, you know, what is cerebral palsy? Like, what are you talking about?
It may have seemed foreign to Libby, but sadly, in Australia, cerebral palsy is all too common. 1 in 500 newborns are diagnosed with a debilitating neurological disorder, leaving them unable to move and, in some cases, even speak.
Happy when we're walking.
We didn't tell anyone for 2 years. It was partly denial, partly embarrassment. You don't want to have that stigma attached to you. First time that we're out at the shopping center, all of a sudden, you're now those people that park in that space with the wheelchair on it, and that's not anything that you'd ever considered in your life. In that moment, though, at that shopping center, a lady touched me on the arm, and she said, I know what you're going through. So that was really amazing.
Isabella isn't Libby and Joseph's only child. She's a proud big sister to 2-year-old Joey. But when it comes to the family's emotional energy and their finances, Isabella certainly takes the lion's share.
Caring for someone with cerebral palsy is very expensive, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we estimate that we need to spend about $100,000 a year in therapy and products like special boots and shoes and walking frames.
A lot of money, isn't it?
It's a lot of money.
It is, yeah.
It puts a big strain on us, because the only available treatment in Australia right now is Botox injections, okay? And that is just not a long-term viable solution.
Chocolate chip cookie and some yogurt.
Botox loosens up Isabella's muscles and eases her pain, but it's only ever been temporary relief. So 2 years ago, Libby and Joseph took her to America for specialist spinal surgery, even though her Australian doctors said it wouldn't work.
So you've got not one doctor here in Australia saying, I think this might be a good idea. Not one.
No, not one.
And yet you still decided to press ahead.
Yeah, we did.
It's a big leap of faith, though, isn't it?
You have to put your faith in yourself and not in anyone else.
The operation in America didn't fix her cerebral palsy, but it did give the family hope. Isabella gained strength and extra movement, which was incentive enough for her parents to search out even more radical solutions. Their research identified doctors in Mexico who seemed to be making progress with cutting-edge treatment, stem cell therapy. But again, the Australian doctors were sceptical.
We saw a professor heading up some stem cell treatment here in Australia, and he was very, what should I say, against it, but he advised us to not participate in anything like that, and that he'd never heard of doing that with children.
He said no.
Definitely said no.
It's a question of presenting the facts, and I'm a scientist, I present the facts.
The University of Queensland's Professor Ernst Wolvertang is the stem cell specialist who took that phone call from Libby. He says he advised against the Mexican stem cell therapy for Isabella because more trials are needed to prove that it works.
It can potentially help many people with different neurological treatments, and cerebral palsy could be one of them. And there are certainly trials that have started to see if it can be safe. But whether it can help them, the jury's out there.
And yet, we have medical clinics in foreign countries offering, at great cost, stem cell treatment for cerebral palsy sufferers.
I know. And this is of great concern to stem cell researchers, to clinicians, and to governing bodies that look at stem cells and stem cell legislation. It's potentially dangerous. There could be adverse effects. There could be clots. There could be immune reactions. They could go to places where they're not supposed to go.
Sun cream.
Yeah, sun cream.
But nothing deters a desperate parent.
Swimsuit.
So despite the warnings, last month, Libby and Isabella packed their bags and headed to Mexico, knowing they were flying into risky, uncharted territory.
Or a lion.
I mean, you two are going out there on the edge of the frontier in a number of different ways, aren't you?
The alternative is that you sit back and you wait until these treatments are available in Australia, and that can be 10 or 20 years, by which time it's too late.
Coming up,
It's a fine line between doing the best thing for her and using her as a guinea pig.
high stakes in Mexico.
They just keep looking at what she's going through, going, is this worth it?
Will Isabella take her first steps? That's next on 60 Minutes. Hello, I'm Liam Bartlett. Thanks for watching. To keep up with the latest from 60 Minutes Australia, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also download the 9Now app for full episodes and other exclusive 60 Minutes content.